just by the corner.
Okay.
We'll see it.
Sure.
Hi, how are you?
Good. How are you doing?
Hello.
Good. I'm Monica. Monica, nice to meet you.
Hi, I'm Howard. Nice to meet you.
Monica, nice
Have a
to
seat.
meet you.
Hi. Good, how are you?
Excited?
Just have to
My
use
first
the
time.
Yeah, we changed the room a little bit.
Oh, yeah?
Usually at the basement.
Oh, okay.
This room is
This
a
is
little bit
nice.
smaller, but we'll see how it goes. Yeah.
Yeah, more cozy, yeah. Actually, we have a sign-in form
Oh.
here if you don't mind, and if you could just get a name tag as well so that everyone will know. Yeah. It's hard, I mean, there's so many people, right? Hi, I'm Mandy.
Hi.
Nice to meet you.
Sorry, nice to meet you. Welcome. Have a seat. Just so you guys know, I will be starting a little bit later because this is a new room for us. Usually we're at the basement.
Okay.
Yeah, usually we are at the basement.
Some people might get lost.
Yeah, I kind of get lost when I come here.
This is my first time in the library.
Well, welcome. I think, have I met you before?
Karen.
Yeah, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Howard, how are you? Sure. Nice to see you again. This is Brett. Brett.
Sorry, it's,
Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you.
Monica.
I'm
You
Karen.
can sign in and.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, for sure.
It's amazing here.
It's a little bit hot, so try to keep it real.
Nice seat.
You're gonna need to get a spot.
Not an usual spot. There are many events. Huh? You just called me.
Yeah,
Yeah, I probably missed that. We're setting up here.
yeah, I kicked you out.
They kicked me out of the basement. No, actually, I don't know what happened. It's usually I
Probably
start
the volunteer, anything they got.
I don't know what's happening.
Is it Brett and Dustin?
Yeah.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, feel free to sign in and have a seat. Yeah. Yeah, this is the first time I'm in this room. Usually I'm in the basement.
Well, that's where we went.
Yeah. Do you guys kind of go
We got
through
hockey
like the
nets
whole?
down there. Oh, yeah.
Do you go to the basement and then someone is actually having an event there, right?
They had hockey nets.
Hockey
Like
nets.
little like ball, well, all the kids are at,
Yeah.
they're setting stuff up for the kids.
Yes, because usually I try to book it like at 12 a.m. Like you
Yeah.
know on the day that I can book it in 60 days before, and I don't know what happened on this day. Is it just didn't allow me to do it. Yeah. How's that deal going? With
That one?
hmm?
Well, I got that extra, but I want more.
Oh, that one is done.
That one is done, but I could
Good.
use some more for that. So,
But do you close that with Apple?
no,
No.
no. I close it with everybody. We'll see how it goes.
You just have to close it. That's what
yeah,
matters, right?
I'm gonna close right away, so it's good.
A bio? His?
This is your first time in this group?
First time.
I went once, but not here in the library.
So you must have enjoyed it.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
investing outside of Canada?
I'm looking at both. Yeah, what about you?
I'm investing in both, but the ones in Canada.
So what we do is kind of 110.
Where's your,
So I am horizon, unfortunately.
Yes.
Yeah, we have a mall, but
Feel free to sign in if you came in and haven't signed in yet, and put a sticker on, and so that I know who you are.
Okay.
And
what's going on with that?
just
nothing.
your help me to keep track.
Yeah, absolutely.
So when did you buy?
That was expensive. And they just opened it up in 2018.
And
Was that-
tough time to open it up.
Yep, there's definitely, nothing's going on.
He's a
Pretty much starting to, I don't know.
pretty neat.
How about you?
Was that-
Do you invest in commercial?
Yeah, we have.
Residential, still looking at Meetup.
He's not here.
You said you had investments in the United States.
Yes, I do have investment in Bali.
In where now?
Good.
That must be doing a little better? No, I'd like to,
Yes, much better.
I'd like to do Maui, I'd love to go in there. I'd like to buy, a vacation property that I've built out,
Yeah.
right? How long have you owned that?
That one is 2012.
But I think it's moving everybody.
That's still, that's pretty expensive.
It's not expensive, but it's worth it. Like, we do love it, so
Something is moving everybody.
usually it's like,
He's another one. So I'm like,
retirement,
easy, just get in. So I'm
6
sitting there.
months out of it, right?
So whereabouts in Maui? Kihei, okay, yeah.
If it's like a couple more minutes, we kind of change
Walia. I like
so it might take a
That's what I do since.
Walia.
few minutes to get here. That's my next day.
Like when
Kihei is nice and everyone goes there, but it's so,
Everybody's gonna be 8 down in the morning.
there's so much traffic. I like Walia,
You know what, we are right outside.
8 down in the morning is around 1.
So we are
Right now,
very
it's
private. It's about 5 minutes.
I don't know
I
if that's
guess
what you're
3-minute drive.
Doesn't have much.
So we're not central, right, on the south.
okay.
But we are closer
See
to
what the
the
main
end.
So what do condos go for now?
It just depends. If
Why?
they're renovated, like right now, it just, yeah, it just depends. You probably cheaper area.
No, I would
It's
love to
probably
do
for
that.
like a
Close to one
two-bedroom
area.
or one bedroom.
Yeah, anywhere close to where we are, even when we were in with solo renovations, right? So honestly, around a million.
No, I
Condo.
was down at the last bit.
Like, New York, I-
Yeah.
I just know what our condos were, but I don't.
I launched the
Market right
Yeah,
now.
yeah.
Okay, when you know like all the lenders are.
So who do you rent it out through? Do you Airbnb or do you?
Away, Airbnb, and VRBO.
We're all in
So you have a
there.
local.
People can pick.
I do want to know. So that's.
Local travel.
But I just don't know if they're
I have that set up already. I know how much.
So everything is online.
Ready to go.
So
All I'm missing is money.
and just kind of keep track of everything so we don't
I
double
had it set up in a
Yeah.
business account, but you run it.
Otherwise,
You
they
can't,
have a question.
you can't sell it.
Once they're there, they have to
So we're doing investments.
Yeah, that's
I don't know, that's why I need to kind of learn and see.
What do you want to do? Do you want to do another?
We went to the old room.
Yes, I'm sorry.
You
guys are
Sure, I was just reading a movie and
Please help me to sign in and put a sticker on.
I love it. Yeah, I
It's just so that it works.
probably smaller multi just because it's less chemical. But ultimately, yeah,
we are getting our.
It's not lenders you have to go to. You have to get like, I have to go to my hedge guy.
Have you talked to them?
Right, but now we have a little bit going on there, so I can get the credit.
Yes, yeah, it takes a couple of years to, I know. That's the thing, that's why I want to start here in Calgary. I have a wholesale business in Mexico that I'm starting at. I have to build up some capital, but it does take a couple of years. Oh, thank you. To build up some credit.
Yeah, and I have to recover from my other businesses that I made about choices.
Sir? Doing well.
I had a
you?
lot of businesses.
I'm a little bit hectic because I
First time
kind of started a little bit late because I do a run this morning. I do like a 14K run,
Yeah.
so I kind of late going home. And
That's right.
You are just starting?
That's right. Hiding the room back
Yeah,
there,
that's
everybody
so
else
much
can.
fun. Raise capital,
Sometime.
right? Joint venture.
I think that's
That's
probably
my
the
company
reason.
right now is funds. I've been doing.
Yeah, there's a lot.
Uh,
oh, you what?
BC's not too
Oh, you?
Yeah, how are you?
For today?
I know, I am in IT, so I do IT for
Scott.
full time, so I
Brett.
yeah, this is a part-time business right now. I want to make it full-time, but somebody.
Starting to.
Yes, I do.
Looking
Into finance, I need financing.
I know, exactly, so this topic is like perfect. I also would like
build the
to
process and kind of get our ducks in a row. I would learn as much as you can from people that have it figured out.
once I go there, I'll find it.
Yeah, figure out what market you want to focus in on.
Because we have like no place
Okay.
Yeah.
So this guy said, okay, 25. People that kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Unless you bring up business to Hawaii.
Okay.
That's Friday.
So then your network is all 500?
Yeah.
Is that your?
Yeah.
But you're on your bridges.
I haven't determined right yet. I don't know. That's why I'm doing study right now because it allows me to create capital and a couple of interesting like Nashville, Atlanta, to just again, I need to do more research. There's lots of money out there, but again,
But I agree with the other one said the same volume, but he did.
but just
Yes.
so is he the
I think I'll be able to that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, kind of related to journey.
Crazy.
Yes.
Hi everyone, how are you? I'm Howard. Thanks for coming. Sorry about changing the rooms earlier today because usually we're at the basement, and so I know there's more important things going on in the basement that some sort of hockey things. Someone said. So here we are. So welcomes to this meetup. So we have done this for for the whole year. Actually, this is the 7th one of this year, 2019. So I'm gonna jump to about this meetup, but I'm gonna. So this is sorry about how it shows. But basically, this is what we've been doing all year. So I say that this is 10 steps of buying multifamily. So this is number 7. How do you finance your commercial real estate? I personally think this is one of the really challenging topic, which I have. I say that it's pretty difficult for me to cover everything in this job as I try. So that's what I'm going to do. So a little bit of this meetup. So I have started this meetup group since 2017, and at the beginning that's basically just me and 1 or 2 guys showing up, and then I've done about 5 last year, and this year we had number 7. This is wrong, and so totally we're gonna do 11 of that. So the one that I show you here, that's what we're gonna do. At the end, we're gonna be next one. We're gonna talk about the close the deals, seal the deals, and then we're gonna talk about move on to the next, and then the last one, step 10, keeping a profit. That's basically your property management meetups. So the goal is I want to grow this meetup. That's I always say that if you are, so who is actually first time here? Okay, welcome guys. And who has been here more than 1 time? Okay, good. So I've been saying many times I want to grow this meetup. That's my goal. I want to grow this meetup to be 100 people each meetups like this, and I want to grow this to be the number 1 meetup in Calgary. So I say that every time. So I said that these 10 steps, I've been talking about this since the beginning of this year. I didn't have this kind of step-by-step thing kind of created myself, but I kind of copied someone who is really great and has owned about 8,000 units in the States. So I kind of used the format to basically teach how you guys do it. That's how I do it. That's how I close my apartment buildings in the US. And I think that's pretty good to share with you guys. So first of all, is like, selecting emerging market. How do you do a marketing campaign? How do you build a team? Analyzing deals, submitting offers, do due diligence. We are at number 7 right here. Didn't show. So we are right here. So I'm going to answer a couple questions. Who is a real estate investor here? Like, just show of hands. Who is not a real estate investor? What do you do?
Not a non-resident?
Yeah. What do you invest?
Real estate in Toronto.
Real estate. So you invest in real estate too?
Yeah.
Okay, that's good.
I thought I mentioned non-resident.
Oh, non-resident, sorry about that, no. So I want to say that many people come to this meetup probably one of 2 reasons. First of all, I don't just invest in real estate, I invest in apartments. So that's what I believe, and I have not been doing single family for a little while, since 2016, so I've stopped doing single families. But the reason why I built this meetup is basically when about 3 years ago, I kind of go to Calgary, a lot of different meetups. I know that's really good meetups out there. But one of the reasons I created this meetup group is because I couldn't find 2 things. First of all, I couldn't find investing in US at that time. I know there's a couple groups now talk about investing in US, how to do it, how to buy single families. But the second thing is there's no meetup groups out there talking about investing in apartments. So that's why I'm trying to meet the gap. I'm trying to create something that meeting whatever the people who is attending meetups, such as you guys, so that you guys can come and learn about how to invest in apartments. Who has invested in apartments? Passive investors or syndicated, doesn't matter. Do we know when I say that investing in apartments? Do we know, for example, do you know what I'm talking about when I say investing in apartments?
Yeah, you either you passive income, like your lender, not lender, like probably lender or creditor, or you invest activate, like you actually do the deal with
Okay.
somebody else.
Thank you. So what?
Want me to open the door?
Sure.
Perfect timing.
Hi, Robin. How are you? So, thank you, Roy. So when I talk about apartments, so first of all, I'm gonna back up a little bit. So this group, when you kind of see the header, I basically say that it's high net worth individuals, high net worth meetups, and then the second say I talk about apartments. So that's basically at the beginning, 2017, when I created a group that's no one showing up. Remember the days? I have the names called high net worth individuals. So I figured out that's not good enough. So I kind of changed it a little bit because I want to apply what I know and kind of basically sharing teaching apartments. So when I say apartments, invest in apartments, what I'm talking about. Okay. So anyone can see that ribbon over there?
Mm-hmm.
So imagine that, like that's basically brand new. So it's so we all know what East Village, like whole buildings look like. But imagine that like those individuals own. So imagine that one investor or one group of investors going in and buy the whole thing as one purchase. So when I talk about investing in multifamily or multi-units, that's what I'm talking about. You either could be passive investing or could be active investing, or basically can be the managing partners. So that's what I'm talking about when I say that invest in apartments. So a lot of people. Today's agenda. So two things I'm always trying to do on my meetups. And if you're not the first one coming in, for the first time coming in, you already know. I'm big on two things. Let's go back to the meetup page. So I'm big on two things. So first is I'm big on networking. I don't believe in me talking about 2 hours here, talking about that, and talk about it all days long. So I want you guys, the reason is I give you a name tag here, and I want you guys to sign in. And basically later on, I'll give you guys about 30 seconds, each of you guys, to talk about you guys. So if you are smart, you probably could think about like, because I basically ask you two things. I want to introduce yourself. I basically also ask you to kind of give me elevator pitch, if you're willing to. The reason is I want to make this not only about education event, but I also want you guys to kind of have the opportunity to be your team. So again, networking and multifamily. So this is what I'm always talking about. That's the reason why I created this group on the market. I don't see anything on the multifamily in Calgary. So this is my meetup videos when I basically ask someone to create for me. So we're gonna just watch that. So a lot of people ask us why we focus on multifamily. The quick story is I didn't start out as a multifamily guy myself. I started out as a single family guy and learning how to manage property, how to manage properties, how to make cash flow in single families. But what I find is it is really tough to scale and make it as a meaningful business when we look at single families. So what I did is, I ventured out to multifamily. At the beginning I started small, started like 2 units. And then what I found is like, if I can buy 2, maybe I can buy 40 units. So that's actually what we did. So we go to US, find like smaller properties, 20, 40 units, and we start looking at the financials. What we find is you can scale it and you can improve the equity way better than single family. And when we have done it, and when we have actually done it ourselves, what we find is that, we're never looking back. We're never looking back. We stick with multifamilies. So come and learn about how to invest in multifamily. This is the only one in Calgary that you're going to be able to find free meetups, multifamily free education, invest in USA. So come. So the reason I created this kind of video, first of all, this video cost me money. And I tell you why I do this kind of things. Because, well, first of all, we talk about this talk today, we're going to talk about financing. So I'm just going to ask a couple questions. When I talk about financing and multifamily, who have an idea what I'm talking about? Karen? What do you think I'm talking about?
Looking for money partners, joint venture capital.
Very good. Who is doing it right now?
Looking.
Thank you. Okay. Tanya, tell me what when you say that you're doing it, can you tell me what you have been doing?
Sorry, the question again.
Sorry.
You want to
So-
tell me what I'm doing?
Yes, so
Right
you
now,
talk
I'm
about,
looking
you talk,
for
you have been raising capital.
investors to finance the property that I've purchased.
Yeah,
Yeah, so you can offer it.
okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, thank you. Corey, right? Yeah. Okay.
Well, right now I'm looking at your second page of the term, I'm trying to stack myself.
Don't skip, guys, okay? Don't be
Well,
cheating.
well, no, I'm just trying to use the term you're using. So I'm writing up my executive summary about my current properties and how I've improved their performance over my holding period. Because moving from single family to multifamily, it's like if you've done anything in single family, nobody believes that you can do anything in multifamily, it seems. That's what I'm running into. They're like,
No one can believe that you've been doing.
that I could be successful in multifamily, so like they wanna see a track record in multifamily, but I'm not really sure how to bridge that gap, so right now I'm looking at trying to do a vendor take back where the owner will take me on as like a manager and then do a vendor take back on the property once I prove my track record in managing the property as well. Cause I'm having issues finding the funding with joint ventures, so I'm in this awkward place. But then I hear like if you have a good deal, people will come to the deal.
Okay,
But I'm not, it's like a transition period that I'm finding difficult.
Yeah, so, thank you for sharing. So the reason I'm asking, so both of you guys hate it, like, right now. So when we talk about financing, we talk about finding money. We're talking about when you have a good property, as Tanya talking about, trying to find the people who are able to invest with you. And we're gonna talk about a lot of things that not only about actually financing. Because when as you talk about, the people who really, well, first of all, I'm all for it for all of us to be able to find the capital to be able to close the property. Because there's two ways. Like if you find the 2 million properties, that's the only two ways you can close that property. You're either gonna save all the down payment yourself, or you're gonna be the persons who people will be willing to work with. And today's what we want to talk about is today, how can we be the persons to be able to raise the capital?
Well, that's another thing, because I'm finding like with this oil and gas economy, the people who I know who have high net worth are in oil and gas. And they are all just stashing their money. Nobody wants to invest in Calgary right now.
Yeah.
And so it's like, how do you sell the product that you think will grow?
So the one thing that I'm trying to, let's say talk about my meetups. So I've been setting up my meetups, so right now I have 202 people. So you know how many people I have to send, how many messages I have to send in order to get 20 people in this room every month? So the reason I'm saying that is, it is about good product. You talk about having good product is very important, but it's also about talking about marketing. So that's two things here we talk about. So only having good products here, like can have, me and Mandy can sit here all day long, but you will never find out that we actually doing Meetup here. So I have to do marketing, same as you, same as everyone's. If you're willing to want to think about raising capital. So, yeah. So today's agenda is how do you finance your commercial real estate purchase? And you're going to do some self-introductions. How to finance deals. So we have a lot to cover. So I'm going to try to not speak too fast. And then at the end, I always have a networking session so that you guys can know each other. Because at the end of the day, I want you guys to find the money. So if I don't give you the chance to network, so I encourage you to stay at the end. Because I also have, so I'm announcing a 2 days course at the end of October. So for the people who will stay at the end, so I have some free seats that you guys should stay at the end. And actually I have 5 free seats. So stay at the back, stay at the ends, and ask Mandy about that. So today's main objective or main answer is how come some people are able to raise a capital, millions after millions? How come some people able to do it? And if they can you do that? And so the next question is, if we know buying properties is about raising capital, is about be the person to be able to people say that I want to invest with you. So how can you implement the steps? So I talk about that it's not about, because everyone can have a good deal, because everyone can have a shit deals and get raising capital too. Seriously, you see, otherwise, so if people don't believe that you can have a shit deal and people invest in, so how come everyone of us invest in GIC? This shit deal, okay? It's getting 3%. Don't, like,
Because you trust banks.
Sure. Yeah, they never fail. And so it's about marketing. So the reason when you trust TD, the big logo, because they have put so many signs somewhere, and they hire so many professional people, and they do a lot of marketing to be able to make you trust them. So when you talk about raising capital, it's just like good old networking. So first of all, they have to like you, and second, they have to like you. Second, they have to, so the first is that they have to know you, they have to like you, and they will trust you. So if they don't trust you, they're not never going to invest with you. So notice why I'm doing here. I'm making sure that you guys trust me. Why I'm setting, one person answer me, how come you're setting this meetup every month? You're gonna have a lot of people that cannot skip, they're gonna miss on the summers. I know that, people skip. But this is what I believe. Anything that you're gonna be able to create attractions, create through consistent actions. I know basement, there's no problem, but I'm not gonna let them stop me. Sure, if I want to be successful in this game, and I think you guys really want to do that as well, raising capital is not about, okay, let me put a sign and I'm going to raise millions. It's never like this. I hope that it's like this, otherwise we won't be sitting here today. So go back to the introductions. I want you guys, who is actually feeling comfortable to talk about themselves? Name and then talk about yourself quickly in 30 seconds. Who is? Or who is not? Okay, I'm assuming you guys are because you guys never raise hands. So you can start from here, Monica. Sure. Your name and then your business. So we could talk about asking for money. Something extra I want to add you at the end is, are you fear of asking for money? And if you are able to success, so I know not everyone have success in raising capital. So, but if you are successful in raising capital, then tell me about your success.
Okay. My first time here, my name is Monica. I'm a full-time accountant, but I also invest in real estate on the side. I also do a few other things. I made few bad deals in real estate and a few good deals, so I'm definitely here to learn. And so I don't repeat the bad deals that I've made before, especially in commercial here in Calgary. Fear of asking for money? Yes, I've been just dealing with banks for now.
Thank you. Welcome.
So my name is Karen. By day, I'm an IT professional. Weekends and evenings is I spend time on my real estate business. I have been looking for joint venture capital for about the last year. So it's not from lack of trying. Market I'm focusing on right now is Edmonton. So I don't have a fear of asking for money, but I find I'm not meeting the right people to talk to. I've done a lot of networking, and I think I'm just in the wrong rooms. So for me, it's been finding the right rooms and the right people to talk to about certain properties that I'm looking at.
That's great.
So my name is Wei. I'm kind of new investor. I started investing in real estate in 2017, and then I turned to apartment building because I'm trying to get more units so I can afford a property manager, so I don't need to do that type of thing. Yesterday is the first time I tried to talk with some my friends like about kind of raising money. He kind of laughed at me. That's the first time, like, I think I know somebody who has money, but I don't think I'm ready because we had a lunch together, but I don't think I persuade him. He's kind of trust me to give me the money, but he said, okay, if you have some track record, come back. And then that's ended there.
They give you some objections, right?
What's
They give you
that?
some objections, right?
Yeah. I think I'm not ready because I'm talking about U.S. market, but I talk about some cities, some research I did, but I don't think I know deep enough to be able to persuade him. So yeah, I think I still need to learn.
But that's the first one only, right? So
The first time I talk with people about do you have interest to invest me with like in the U.S. So
Is he a friend or a stranger?
not strangers, my previous manager, like, but he's not with me in the same company anymore. But he has business himself, so he invests everywhere, but not like business, the regular business, not real estate.
thank you.
Hi, my name is Kuda. I'm a full-time accountant. Now moving into real estate, I can say that my main problem has been the fact that I felt like I did not know anything, I did not know what to do, but in a sense it was just fear. So in the next coming weeks I'm going to be looking at places and looking to take action as I'm learning, rather than just learning and not doing anything.
Thank you.
And Caesar, I just purchased my second house. I'm undergoing renovation for the basement, adding stuff. I'm here because I'm interested in learning more about apartments, and particularly just an apartment near the college near us that I'm considering possibly purchasing if I can find investors.
So the one thing that I'm going to jump in, so I know, so this one is about apartments investing. My focus, and I'm not shy to share with you, my focus is on investing in the US. It's very simple, it's because I hate buying 5 or 6 cap properties. It's not funny. So 6 cap is basically means that it's the low cap rate is usually it's more competitive. So for example, Calgary, you still at this kind of time economy, we talk about really low like employment rate, and we still talk about apartments, C-class properties, 5 cap, 4 cap. So that's what I'm still saying. You can still see good deals around, but you have to be able to find, you have to be able to be connected. Kind of come back to be the persons, people trust you to be able to give the pocket dips. But that's what I'm seeing. So that's why I'm focusing on the US. Why I'm focusing on like 6 cap when you cannot cash flow.
What are the cap rates, what cap rates are you finding
In Calgary?
No, in the US, what cities are you focusing in again?
If this is below 6 cap, it's really hard to cash flow, by the way, first of all. And Calgary is Calgary is, you love if you have a 6 cap properties. In US, you go 6.5 cap, 6.5 on a competitive market, the one that I'm looking at. But people always, when I talk about US, people always talk about, Boston, San Jose, or even Florida, some of them. Well, or even Phoenix. So the market I'm looking at, but by the way, US is a 300 million people country. So you're gonna be able to find, and Canada is 30 million people country. And I live in Canada, but I don't invest in Canada anymore right now. I'm actually leaving all my investments. I'm actually going, because the thing is, I want to be able to get capital. I want to be able to get capital. And one thing that talk about capital was the biggest thing when you talk about investors. Returns. It doesn't matter how good your marketing is. So you talk about your product, your return is bad, then it's going to be hard to convince investors, or the rate to convert them to be investors is going to be hard. Brandon?
Brendan. My name is Brendan. First time here.
Welcome.
Yeah, thanks. I have one investment property just purchased this year. Pretty new to real estate as an asset class. My day job is I work for a family office, so high net worth family, and I'm part of the team that manages like a macro long-only fund. Interested in this asset class because it's uncorrelated, and given the returns in other asset classes right now, I just think it's appealing. High barriers to entry are higher than others, and actually fairly simple. Like it doesn't seem like it's rocket science, but I guess the jargon is a little bit different, so that takes some time to get used to. Fear for asking for money? Not really. I just think, I already spoke about already, like your track record's big, so investors want to know about return and risk-adjusted returns, and if you don't have a track record, there's a lot of options out there where people do have a track record, and they're going to be more likely to go to someone where they have had success in the past. And my success for asking for money, 0, because I haven't had to ask for it. I've just invested in behalf of the family. So.
Is it hard to ask for money, by the way?
Yeah.
The rest? It's tough. It's tough. But it's just like riding a bicycle. If you fail the first time, you're going to be able to learn it later on. If you keep on doing it, you can. But it's tough. But I also have one slide talking about, is it harder to ask for money and invest, or is it save all the capital yourself? I think it's probably ask for capital is way easier to save the capital. How hard is it how long does it take you to save $2 million? Probably the whole life. right? How long does it take you to raise 2 million? If you're really, really bad, maybe 10 years, right? Yeah, 2, right? Yeah. So that's how I look at it. So, but the thing is that so I know 2 years is long too. So, but that's one thing I'm talking about. It means that it's hard to do that. Doesn't mean that you don't do it. It's expensive to do it. Doesn't mean that you're gonna spend all your life doing it. I mean, saving the money. Nothing is free. Nothing is free. So you could, so one thing that Brandon talked about is have a track record. But one thing that I also want to add on is so by the way, I give credit to my mentors. I didn't create this whole 10 steps for myself. This is a proven system. Basically for people who are starting to learn from the beginning, find the market, build a team, find the capital, do the due diligence, and then build a team again, find the people who have money, invest with you. So a lot of these things can help you to basically overcome. Because it's a chicken and egg. So I used to be an engineer myself. I spent 18 months trying to find the jobs, and I would spend about 3,000 emails, resume, and go out to basically answer jobs. So I don't have engineering experience. So the problem is can I get a job, engineering job? Of course you can. It just means that it takes longer. It doesn't mean that it takes longer for you to raise the capital. It doesn't mean that you're going to be stopping it or save the capital. So that's what I'm looking at. Okay. So.
Scott, second time attending. Outside of real estate, I work in capital markets. But real estate's kind of always been a passion of mine. Currently, privately we have 3 properties here in Calgary. But the purpose of attending these, much like Howard talked about, the numbers don't necessarily make sense from a long-term or leverage standpoint here in Calgary. So looking to build out the process, get our ducks in a row. Good friend here with Breton, so we're looking to build our process and then dive into some bigger things. Fear of asking for money. I would say no, because if you get rejected, you're at the same point you came from. So success, haven't had to try it yet, so I guess it's easy for me to answer the first one.
Thanks, Scott. Next.
Okay, I am Desada, and I deal in mortgages, and finance, and private lending. And fear of asking for money, ask me for money. I'm right here in the room, ask me for money.
Good,
okay?
I love it.
All right? Because I have a network of people who like to fund. That's all they do. And someone says you can raise $2 million here?
I can't personally, I'm learning from somebody who's raised.
Because I would want to talk to you, all right? And I've got financiers who don't care about your beacon, all right? If you can handle the return or the number, sometimes high financing or private financing can be a higher rate. But if you work your numbers out on your Excel and make sure you can handle it, it shouldn't be a problem, all right? So success in asking for money, I ask for money all the time too. So if you work in capital markets, I want to talk to you more, okay? That kind of thing. So if you need money, talk to people like me, because I deal in regular houses, I deal in commercial, and I have a lot of private financiers who want to do nothing. Some of them have gone up to 85% lending, LTV, with not CMHC, it's just their own money. But you have to handle the interest rate.
Do you lend out in the US?
These are all Canadian right now.
What rate is that at?
It depends. It's gonna. Well, we will talk to you and make sure we'll figure things out.
You have 45 seconds.
Okay.
Hi everyone, my name is Rahul. I work for a construction management firm. Recently moved here from Toronto. I do own 2 properties jointly with a friend of mine in Toronto. Recently invested within the past 5 years. First time here in this meetup group. My main focus right now is to increase my real estate IQ in the US and Canada, see what opportunities are out there, and take it from there until I'm ready for my next venture.
The one thing I want to thank Reverend, this is your first time here, right? Yes. First thing I want to talk about is we're all getting older. So I know it takes time to do things. One thing that I always believe in, that's a quick way and that's a slow way of doing it. And always trying to do the quick way. Just be honest. Who actually buy multifamily at their 20s? no ones. Usually who buy multifamily in the 30s. But multifamily properties, you talk about usually, you can talk to many of the investors in Calgary who own 8 units, 6 units. They usually buy some 70s, and they own it for 30 years. So all I'm trying to say is you can do it in a slow way, and usually people do it in a slow way, and I don't believe in that. I believe in learning from someone who are able to do it, and that's how I've done it.
My name is Corey, this is my first time here.
Welcome.
I have 4 duplexes and a single family home. They've been very successful, and I don't take credit for any of it other than being in the right place at the right time. I am now, this is the first time that I've tried to arrange private capital for an investment, and I had moved again out of Canada, and I'm doing an international purchase to do. We have 2 strategies. It'll either be a hotel or a retirement condos is what we're looking at. And so, yeah, so right now I'm in the midst of raising capital for it. I had a fear of asking for money. I probably still have a little bit of a one. But
It's normal. It's normal to
yeah,
have that fear.
But after I bit the bullet, I was able to raise 60,000 in 3 days.
That's good.
That was not too good in my thing. It's taken me a little bit longer to raise. We're about halfway there now.
Is it? So let me answer you. Do you when you get the $60,000, do you think it is harder than what you've imagined, or is it easier?
Well, because I have such a fear of talking to people, period, it was probably harder than I imagined. Well, yeah, no, it turned out easier than I imagined.
Okay.
But yeah, you build it up in your head to be such a horrible thing, right? And you gotta get over, I think my big breakthrough was realizing that I wasn't asking for money. I was giving an opportunity to somebody to go into an amazing venture with me that was gonna make us both money. And that was where I stepped out and was able to actually do it, because I stopped thinking, oh, I'm begging for money, or I'm asking for money, and looking at what that it was a benefit to me and not a benefit to them, right?
And even like what's worse? Like what is bad about asking for money? People ask for money all the time.
Oh yeah.
Like seriously, this library take $220 million to build. They probably need some bank to support it. They ask for money to build it. Probably don't have the money to build it anyway, so they just ask for money to build it. There's nothing wrong with asking for money. If you know what you're doing, if you truly have the mindset of taking care. So first thing so at the beginning of when I raised capital, is one thing is really new concept is, at that time, you really have to have a heart of an investor at your hand. So when you work with investors, so talking about raising capital is one thing they talk about fiduciary responsibility is really true. If you don't have the mind of your investors, it's really hard to sell them because they know it. Joven.
Yeah, my name is Joven, and I've been coming to this meetup with Howard since April. And I'm a recent graduate, but we just started our first flip, me and Robin, and a large part of our team and our network came from this meetup itself. So it's actually given us a lot of benefits because the networking we've been able to get here. And in terms of fear of asking for money, so at this point in time, it's our first deal. So we personally feel that we need to build up a little bit of knowledge and track record before we can actually go out and ask for money. So that's where we're at.
What's worse can happen when you ask for money?
They can say no, that's it. That's about it.
They're not gonna bite you.
In a way, we did ask for money for the flip, right? It's not, we told them like, so-and-so's a house, what do you think? And then we explained it, we sat down, yeah, it was a bit of a longer process, but eventually we got a yes.
One thing you find out that's when you have a track record, Brendan talked about, when you have a track record, when you have asked people many times, that it's become easier. Just like anything else that you do many times, it's become easier. So.
If I can just interject for a second. What I learned during my tour is that all those investors were first-time real estate investors at one point, and they're willing to support you in your dreams and become an investor and do stuff. So to say I gotta wait till I have a track record, I would never let that hold me back again, right? Because they've all come to me and said, oh yeah, I was there, I know where you're going from, and they're all more than willing to share their knowledge.
But part of the time is basically the fear of yourself. That's, you don't know what they're gonna look at you. In fact, no one think about you. Like, no, they're all really busy thinking about themselves.
Right.
So, yeah, that's very true.
I'll go, I guess I kind of did it, but my name is Robin. I'm an engineer by trade. So working with Jovan, we're going for our first flip. Of course, just getting over the fear, right? So if I personally believe you can get over the fear of asking a girl out, you can get over anything else, right?
That's very true.
So going from there, we went for the house. We did our first purchase and we're going through it. So my thing is I would try it once before giving up. At least I know if I failed, at least I tried. That's my method, but I keep learning. That's the thing we have in common. That's
Well, there's so many deals out there, and so many. That's just about what 7 billion investor over there. So if one say no, and that's really not the end of it. So coming to meetup like this is obviously is going to help you guys build a network. We talked about that. So it's good that you guys build a network here. So yeah, keep doing it.
My name is Fraser.
Hi, Fraser.
Full-time I build decks, garage shelves, do framing, and I'm just getting into real estate now. So I'm just going to more networking and courses or see what I can do.
Welcome.
Oh yeah, sure. I thought I stopped too. I don't think I have a fear of asking for money. I just never had. I guess I'm getting the plan together now, so I'll be asking soon.
There's a plan and there's actions. Sometimes people like to plan everything before they do it, right? Including me. But in fact, I'm a doer myself, by the way. I'm a doer. So I do things a lot of times that fail, and I don't know what you guys like. But for example, when I started meetups, the first time I talked about it, I have a whole year that have about 5 people showing up. But along the way, I learned how to set up meetings. Along the way, I learned how to do marketing. So raising capital is just the same thing. So you can have the perfect plan, but perfect plan is no use if you don't act on it. Yeah. Tanya?
I'm Tanya. I'm Canadian, but I've been living in the States for 12 years, so I'm just back now. And I have single families in the States, which I'm really, really happy with. But I have, my family's here. So I want to go up to a multifamily because I see it as that same thing. You can remove it's not as hands-on intensive as having all these single families that I'm managing myself. So I'd like to move into a bigger asset class, and I just happen to find something here in Calgary that I want to make work. And if I can't make it work, then I'll go back to the States because, yeah, my cap rates are 12%, and my cash on cash is between 30 and 50%. So.
Why is it not as hands-on when we talk about multifamily? Just for the rest of people to know this. Why is it more hands-on in single families?
I could do a management, you can hire a management company.
Because of economy of scale.
Yeah, just the scale economy.
Thank you.
Excuse me, where do you live in the US?
In Tucson.
So, and how's your knowledge of US markets?
Pardon me?
How's your overall knowledge of US markets, like specific cities?
I didn't research outside of Tucson because Tucson, it was just golden at that time.
Yeah.
And as soon as I saw it going up, I bought 3 within 3 months.
Wow.
And I looked in buying in Tucson before I was trying to compare Tucson here because I wanted to move into that apartment market.
Yeah.
And when I compare right now, living here again, there's a ton of people immigrating here for a reason, and I don't think the value in Calgary will ever drop like it does in the States. And so the States, for me right now, if I were to go into my Tucson market, and I don't know about other markets because I haven't analyzed anything else, I just don't think I can bank on the appreciation like I can here. But, and I won't pull out my money out of Tucson right now because returns are so good. So I want to, like you're saying, 5% here, like, unless you can find something like really special here.
Cap, sorry, 5% cap.
Yeah. Yeah, so. But
So-
there are places, like, that's the thing with the States, though, is you can get a better cash-on-cash return than you can here.
So Tanya, so when you guys are talking, so I kind of write down here Calgary and Canada. So this is totally, you know, if you want to actually the right one, you go to you go to CPRE, and then basically they have a multifamily sections, and basically they have the whole Canada. So come to me when you actually want about the cap rate. So who, by the way, who doesn't know what is a cap rate? Good. Okay. So quickly go over that. So the lower the cap rate, the more competitive the market. So basically, for example, like we just talked about apple to apple. I know that's we can talk about all days long different kind of product. If Toronto and Vancouver, we talk about 2 to 3 cap, which is really competitive, really expensive. We talk about $500,000 for 1 unit, and Calgary would be around 5 to 6 cap for the similar type of product. Like just forget about just the certifications, and cost you 150 to 200,000 per unit. So when you talk when Tanya talked about U.S., one thing that she's talking about is you can actually find, so some market is really competitive, just like Canada. The reason why people like us go to U.S. and invest in U.S. is basically U.S. is, so when you go to one state, the populations can be more than the whole Canada. We're talking about one state. One state can have 5 to 10 different markets, which is basically what you have all about in Canada. I love Canada, but I just don't love investing in Canada. Just as simple as that. People can talk about appreciation all days long. Try to talk about your investor. You can appreciate. It doesn't work like that. Some of the investors, they want cash flow now. So that's what I'm talking about. So cap rate, the higher the cap rate means that usually the property is cheaper to buy. When we say cheaper, it means the rent compared to the price ratio.
Net income.
Yes.
Net income to total investment.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, yeah, thanks, Sam. Yeah, because there's expense as well. I just say that. So the net income is NOI. NOI is the income minus expense. So.
What is the average price in Calgary right now? Is it $175,000 a unit?
It's all over. Yeah, but I would say from 150,000 to 200,000, and depending on the market, depending on the size. Because you have to understand, like, you can get a property. The smaller the property, the lower the economy of scale, and the lower the cap. Because because there's more expense comparing to if you have, you're gonna have more expense because you don't have that much of economy of scale. Rule of thumb. Yeah, it's not.
How what you're saying is up to $200,000 per door in a larger
Per door.
complex?
200,000. This is 200,000, 250. You can see it all day long.
That's ridiculous.
Like in Tucson right now, it's about 70 to 80,000.
That's pretty high.
I'm moving there. Just kidding.
Okay, I'm gonna try to speed this up. Jason?
I'll go fast. I'm Jason. I'm a full-time investor. I've invested in residential properties in both Canada and the US. I've sold most of them, and now I have money to invest in commercial real estate. I'm looking at small apartment complexes, not maybe as big as what Howard is doing, less money to get into, and also mobile home parks, because I have some friends investing in those and they have high cap rates and their cash flowing is really big.
They do.
This is all in the US. I don't invest in Canada anymore. It's too low caps, not worth it. You don't get enough return. It's basically just a job of seeing money come in and go back out the door, and you don't get to put any in the savings or in a bank account. So I'm done with Canada as far as that's concerned, and just cash flowing in the US and looking for JV partners to go on a ride with me and invest in some of those commercial properties down in the US.
Thank you, Jason.
Yep, you're welcome.
No.
Hi.
No?
Yeah, my name is No.
I know.
I'm just new in this investment and trying to learn more on marketing, so I could start up business.
Okay. Scott.
Hi, I'm Scott. This is number 7, so this is my 6th time here.
Thank you for support.
Oh, you're welcome. Found great value every time, so I'll continue to keep coming back. I have one single family unit that I purchased last year and converted to an up-down. Just looking to continue, always looking at what's next. I've never had to ask for money, and I think any fear associated with that would simply be, like everybody else said, not having that full track record. So that would be the only thing holding me back from asking for money.
By the way, everyone starts somewhere. You know, everyone starts somewhere. So how many of you guys invest in single families? Single families. So you start somewhere too. Like when you buy your first single family, it's probably teeth crunching. Like I remember when I bought my first apartment in 2006, I was scared. I get my parents to go actually to look at that property with me. Like, you know, believe it or not. I did, right? We did. Now it's funny. But it's normal to be scared to invest in multifamilies at the beginning. And the thing is, one thing that when I really like, what I really like about multifamily is this. I'm not trying to be categorized, but I'm just talking about a trend. People are not buying as much as they used to be. People like to rent more. They want to rent in good units, and because of the trend of millennials, and the ownership is lower in terms of ownership percentage in Canada and all, but people want to rent compared to what they own. So it's the best time to, personally, I think, to invest in apartments because people are actually moving into that. And when we talk about recession-proof, I have a video, I didn't show it here, recession-proof. In 2008, multifamily did go down, but it didn't go down 60% just like single family does. The reason is people sell their home, and where they go? I guess they need a place to live other than live on the street. They can't all be homeless, so they go to the multifamilies and they rent because it's cheaper. So that's why I'm really a supporter of multifamilies. Thank you, Scott. Do you have fear? Answer money?
What's that?
Do you have fear of answer money?
No, like I was saying, I've never had to ask for money, and any fear that would be associated with that would just be, you know, based on my track record. So, yeah, that's it.
Chris?
Yes, my name is Chris. So it's actually Christian, but everyone calls me Chris for short because it's faster. I'm actually a first-time investor. I have no knowledge in real estate whatsoever, but I want to learn. And I'm looking at homes, the prices here in Calgary, it's really high. A medium home price.
It's still very high, right?
Yeah.
Even after all the corrections.
It's crazy, man. And then I see in US, homes are like ranges from 200 that can go up to 300 or lower. That's why I think she's making good income over there. But yeah, that's, I came to this place because I want to network with people, hang out with better people than me. And I want to learn from you guys. I have no knowledge whatsoever, and yeah.
That's great. Right.
Hi everyone, I'm Brian. I'm in construction management at the moment, recent graduate from school, and I really want to start investing my money somewhere safe. Real estate safe, and I do want to get into investing in the US as well, because there's a lot of success there. So it's my third time here, fourth time. Trying my best to network, learn from everyone else here who is successful. So,
So one thing that I do at the beginning of my career, I know that credibility is something. So we talk about, so look at this. So if everyone go to the second page of the agenda. So I talk about picking a market, doing the marketing, the generate the deal flow, building a team, analyzing deals, how to negotiate, do your due diligence. That's all the things we have done this year. And then today we talk about how to finance your purchase, and then moving on to closing the deals, moving on to the next and managing profit. So all those things kind of tie back to one thing. Is when you're trying to raise capital. Okay, I'll give you an example. Do you think if Oprah come to this room tomorrow or next, like you just walk in here, and Oprah doesn't do real estate, do you think she has difficulty answering for $2 million in this room in about 5 seconds? Yes or no?
No.
Why is that? Why? By the way, yes or no?
No.
You know, why is that? Why she doesn't have problems raising capital?
She has reputation.
She doesn't know how to deal with real estate. She doesn't have a good product.
People will just follow them.
Property will appreciate as soon as they know.
She has credibility.
She's Oprah.
She has a credibility, right?
People know her, she has relationships without actually having relationships.
So even though you haven't dig down about how she's going to build that properties, it doesn't. I would just invest. So basically, all you guys would jump up. It's like just get me that connections, right? So the reason why I'm establishing that example is because you all thinking about the good deal is the key. It is one of the key, but it's also about how connected you are, who you are. You talk about track record. It's about what is your ability to selling yourself. We're talking about investing in apartments, investing in real estate. Yes, investing in apartments, but let's just talk about this. You can have the best deal in front of you. If you don't trust that person, you're not going to invest with them. Is it true? So it's two things. So I talk about building a team, analyzing deals. All these things that I've been talking about early this year is about building yourself to be able to sell yourself to the investors. Clear? Because that's why I'm doing all those. Putting myself in a magazine, on newspaper, speaking on stage. So that's why I'm doing it. So that's my investment. So long and short is, why I'm showing you a lot of slides is, I want to tell you, people do things with people who they trust. People will learn from people who have a track record. But you have to start building from somewhere. Not everyone have a track record. Not everyone have multi-families. But the more and more you do it, just like the first time you're riding a bicycle, the more and more I do this presentation, the better I becomes. So this is my holdings. I'm not going to go through. There's a lot of that, but I've invested in U.S., Canada, and Canada. U.S., Canada, and China. So questions for you. I have a few questions. I think it's on. This is not for you to answer, but I want you to think about that. Setting up here. Maybe not. So, why are you here today? Are you trying to spend the 2 hours because you have nothing else to do? Because you just want to come here and you know what, that's a good topic. I want to hear about. By the way, everything that you're going to come and learn about today, you can buy 5 books to learn about it. There's nothing generic about it. There's nothing special about it. You can learn about how to raise capital yourself. But you have to think about why you come here today. Is it you want to connect with some people who are able to raise capital? Is it connections? And you can only answer by yourself. Who wants to be better in asking and offering opportunities? Who are successful getting people to invest with you? Some people have done it in this room. Do you want to expand your success? Who are successfully getting people to invest with you? Family and friends. Who have family and friends who invest with them before? I have. Is it easier? I think it's easier. Most of them, they want to help you, by the way. They want to help you. But the fear is actually in me that I don't know if I want to screw them up, right? Many times. So you have to deal with that fear. Who are successful getting people invest from bank, from bank to invest. Sorry, typo. Invest with you. Who is getting money from the bank? Everyone does, right? So I talked about this a little bit earlier. Why you need to finance deal by investing in investor? So because it's only two sides. So go to the second page, in here. Everyone come to here. So I know not all deals like this, but most deals are like this. You need some equity from investor 30%, and you need some money from the bank. Not every deal like this. I know people talk about some of that deals you can 100% of financing. Some of the deals that you need more investor capital. But the key thing is you need to figure out how you can attract the equity side, be the persons to be able to attract the equity side, and be the persons to be able to get the money from the loan. It's really that simple. So when we talk about that, you need to plan. I need to prepare myself. It's not that much to prepare. It's actually just making sure that when you talk to the guy will be able to invest with you, period. And if it doesn't, move on to next. Move on to next. And at that time, you're getting better and better. Like, there's no hard feelings about it.
I'm having interesting conversations because a lot of the money that I have access to is investing in marijuana right now. And so I'm having a hard time trying to compare real estate to marijuana investment, and like, I don't know anything about marijuana investment, so it's interesting to try to have to prove your product.
Are you saying that
Somebody
you're
don't
trying to
have-
compete money with marijuana?
Well, just marijuana investment that's, pretty strong in this market.
How many years like this is how I attack them, okay? If I
Okay.
attack them. How many years marijuana has been on the market?
Since October. Well, no, forever. It's been on the market forever.
How many what is the track record of that? Can you show me the 3
Very
years?
successful.
Can you show me the 3 years financials of that?
Well, no, because I don't know that market. So
But
is
I would
that
answer
something that I
that.
should be
Other than
researching so I can
performance, right?
discuss it?
So I would answer that. So first of all, you can't touch it. Well, you can touch it, but I don't think you can touch it as good as touching this. You can touch this, and you can improve it. Other than, and then another thing is, how many people, we talk about one of the things is building a team. So any business we talk about is about building a team. So the money that you can create, generate revenue, is big part because you have a good team. So when you talk about new things like marijuana, like I love that. Like, I don't support that, but I love the idea. What is the security? So that's how I'm looking at it. If you're trying to raise capital from people, I know, because marijuana talk about 30, 50, or 500%. If you get it.
It's speculative. It's 100% speculative.
Just like
And
Bitcoin.
then they would come back
Who have
and
lose
say,
money in
real
Bitcoin?
estate is too. Look at where Calgary is right now
Yeah.
in the real estate market.
Not as,
What is the,
not nearly as speculative, because the house is gonna have a bottom as to what it's gonna be worth. So if I tell you the house is worth $450, it's probably not gonna go much further below $4 or $390.
I'm gonna play
Whereas-
devil's advocate and say, yeah, that's what people in the States thought in 2007 and 82.
It could, but every investment is speculative, but it's a number, and the number as far as the number that I would put to speculation on marijuana, like, it was supposed to go like gangbusters here in Calgary, but the first license that was issued is, they're just opening up the store on Bridgelands right now because of community resistance. So there's a whole bunch of other things that we're dealing with, supply issues. It's still 50% cheaper to go get it from your local dealer and he delivers it with a smile to your house.
Okay. How do you prove that?
Things get mind by someone would tell me, well, that's just gonna take time.
It'll
I mean,
take
they've
time.
proven it medically, and once you start having successful medical products, then you're getting into the pharmacology market, and like, that's billions and billions of
Oh, yeah.
dollars.
Like right now, I would say it's speculative, not that it's bad. It's, Google was a speculative thing at a certain point in time, or Apple was, right? I'm just saying that the chances Apple was that close to going bankrupt before Steve Jobs came, and there was a whole bunch of stories of where you are touch and go with it, but it's here to stay. But for real estate, it's here to stay no matter what. There's nobody's not gonna not need a house anymore, and in the next 100 years anyways, until the Matrix takes over. But right now, like, even when there was the biggest financial catastrophe in the US, Arizona went from like 400,000 to 100,000, so it went to a quarter for sure, but it still was worth 100,000.
And now 10 years later, it's
back to,
it's recovered,
yeah.
maybe almost 100%.
Yeah, so it is speculative, but you can run numbers on it, and you can speculate a little bit more confident.
What's number one? Pick your market.
Yeah, and then there's different markets too. Yeah.
Pick your market. So yeah, no, there's a lot of things you can do, and that's reflected on the rate of return too. The rate of return on medical marijuana or even Bitcoins is so high, right? It's so high in one time before they bust. So that's going to reflect on the risk, because usually that's how we reflect on the risk, right? And I'm not a financial guy, but that's how it usually works.
When you have an investor with Canadian dollars investing in the States, and they start asking you about tax rates on their returns, how did, what is that? What are the tax implications for Canadians investing in the States?
Well, you need to file your U.S. tax, right? If you don't have a blocker. And by the way, I'm not. So I'm gonna have two disclaimers. First of all, I'm recording this, Okay? And then second of all, I'm not an accountant. So based on my experience, and first of all, you can have different structure to set up so that the Canadian need to pay tax if you don't have a blocker. I'm just going to put it like this. And Canadian need to pay tax because we don't do it in US. But I'd rather pay, by the way, and US tax is lower than the tax in Canada. And US tax have a treaty. US government, IRS, and the CRA have a treaty. Such a way that if you paying, and this is an example, this is my accountant tell me. So this is good Canada. On the top, if Canada paying 25% tax, I'm just giving you numbers, and it's not everything. Down there we have our neighbor, 20%. So first of all, this is how it works. When you have $100 coming in, so I'm going to answer quickly. So let's say that you pay 20 bucks to the IRS. When you go to Canada, you pay the $5. Does it make sense? That's
So
what
with
they.
an investment property in the States, your first tax liability is to the States, and then you get credit in Canada for whatever you pay.
So I'm just illustrating it without going to the nitty-gritty, but that's my experience. And plus, actually, you don't pay tax because that's depreciation.
Because of what, sir?
Depreciation. Yeah. You know, like I lost 90,000 first year. Never lost anything actually, just depreciation.
You're recording it, right?
Yeah. So you have to have your team. You have to have your team. We talk about a lot of things here. One thing that people, when they talk about, oh, I have done single family, now I'm going to jump onto multifamily. The one thing is funny is they forget about that now. Let's say you buy 1 or 2, even 20 units, and like accumulatively single family. Now you're going into 20 units, 1 buildings or 40 units or 200 units. You need a lot of people to be able to work with you, to be able to do that. You need local people to be able to work with you. You need a team. The money that you need to close your 20 units for the last 20 years is different from the money that you need for closing 200 units. You know, last time we have a guy here trying to close that 200 units in US, Lima, and he's not here. But you're gonna need a team. You need a team to be able to do all these things for you. And the reason why is you're not going to be able to do your contract yourself. You're not going to be able to do your find your mortgage money yourself. You're not going to be able to do your managing units. You're managing the unit. Imagine that you can manage 20 units in here yourself. Think about it. You can manage 200 units in yourself. By the way, that's not the reason why I get into real estate. It's not to deal with tenants. I love them, but I don't want to deal with them. So a lot of things you have to. Relying on other people. That's why you call building a team. When you're building a team and show your investors, that builds credibility, right? That builds your credibility. I'm in the middle of trying to create a $20 million fund right now. The first thing they ask me is, what is my team? So I want to show this quickly. I like this. I have to confess, I kind of copied from somewhere else. I like this. So this is what we're doing. Find the property, put the money, find the people who invest with you, put the money into the escrow, skip number 3 because that's not right. And then when you close the property, the cash flow coming in from the properties, and your investor get a cash flow check. And when you improve it, one of the things that it just didn't show the value add. When you sold it, you get it back to the investors. That's what we're doing. When you talk to investors, try to simplify it. By the way, investors, no matter how many times you talk to them, they're not you. They're not interested in apartments, by the way. They're interested in the returns. That's one thing. The reason why they partner with you as a managing partner is because they don't want to do the things. By the way, who invests in Tesla? Who invests in Facebook? I don't. Oh, come on, guys. Who invests in Apple? Who invests in stocks? Do you want to operate the company or you just want to get the return?
Return.
The same thing. You need to build up yourself so that they want to invest with you, but they don't actually want to know about your business. Most of the times. They want to get the return, and simple as that. You have to build yourself such that they want to work with you, but you have to feed in the information, monthly, quarterly report, and things like that, so that they have the confidence with you. and many things that I'm talking about here, you find it really strange. I never talk about the numbers and then things like that. I talk about the numbers of the properties on other units. But finding money is about building confidence if you haven't figured that out yet. It's about building confidence with other people to do things with you. Next. So this is money pie. Are we good? Okay. So I'll talk about this. I want to raise capital because I want to buy as much as I can, not limited by the money I currently have. Let's say if you have 100K in the bank. With leverage, this is really simple. You can buy like 3 times the properties, 300K, 400K with leverage. But if you want to buy as much as you can, if you want to save up another 100K to buy another property, that's your only route to be able to do this, right? Or, you know, that's what you can do. It's about raising capital. So the goal is to invest with investors. Who has difficulty in raising capital? We talk about it here. Who has tried out but it's not as easy as they think? We also talk about. We just need to learn about how to do it. Number one task is how to make yourself as trustworthy, credible persons who invest, who investor would love to work with you, investing without being millionaires. Because you know, some of us here own business. You need to find capital at the beginnings. But if you need to raise capital, you need to be basically show the plan, show up what you know the market, hopefully you show that you're able to do something like this, or you have a track record. If you don't have a track record, you're trying to do as much as possible and slowly building up. Just like you're buying your single families at the beginning. You save up the capital, it's a step-by-step thing, but you know, at the beginning, if you say that buying for the units property is really high, you need half a million to close it. Buy smaller, buy closer. And what I'm saying is, do the things that you can so that you can build up a little bit of track record, right? Not everyone have a track record at the beginning. And there's no quick fix here. 2 options I talked about. Accumulate all the capital yourself, take years, or become the persons other people would love to work with you. Making sense? Questions? Am I going too fast? Okay. Who knows when I say, so it makes sense. So how do you do it? I'm gonna answer some questions. You're too quiet. How do you be the persons to be able to raise the capital? Chris, I know you're brand new, but I'm gonna click on you.
Okay. How to?
So let's say you need to raise the capital, and let's say you're not going to save all the down payment, the 30% show on the pie. Let's say you don't have it, or you don't want to spend whatever you have. How do you become the persons to be able to raise the capital?
I'll try and build my reputation, but mainly I'll focus on talking to people that I know, friends, family. I'll ask them if they want to invest in this particular thing that I find could make money potentially in the future. So yeah, in general, just networking, talking with people, like what we're doing here.
Would you like to have a plan to do it?
Yes.
Or just gonna go out and make asking for money? We like to research. Do you want to probably research the market?
Yes.
Like they probably ask about where's your market. They probably ask about where's your team. They probably ask about have you done it. Like you know what I'm saying is you probably want to anticipate what they're asking you. All these are objections, but the objection doesn't mean that no. It just means no now, right? Because as soon as that person doesn't die, I remember some person saying that as soon as that person don't die, that you can always go back later on in life and close that gap. No now doesn't mean no forever, right? Because that person is going to keep making money, is going to keep saving money in the bank, and if you become the person again, if you become Oprah, they're going to invest with you, or it brings half of Oprah, they're going to invest with you. So now basically it comes down to how do you make yourself to become a credible, trustworthy person people would love to work with you. Having a plan, having know what to say is part of it. So I say that here, target money source. At the beginning, it's probably easier to target people who you know, who like you, who want to support with you. Your friends, your family, your siblings. And I know some of you are saying, well, I don't want to get the money. Who is thinking that? Who's thinking that? Okay.
I'm listening to a podcast called How to Lose Money, and the common thread is don't borrow from family.
Okay. Yeah. And my response to this is, some people don't want to do that, and it's totally fine. But think about this. It's only bad if you just give me the money and don't do anything. It's not bad if you try to do the due diligence, whatever you can do, and ask for help. Only that. And you basically, if you educate yourself, it's not as bad. Like, because the reason I'm saying is, if someone is going to support you doing this, it's going to be your family and friends, right? Do you think you want to lose their money? Well, first of all, if I am your friend, and there's another guy, stranger here, trying to get the same thing, like I'm asking money for you, and this stranger asking money for you as well. He doesn't know you.
Yeah.
So do you think I have a better interest for you because I know you, I don't want to lose your money, or this guy?
I would look at it like that. I would look at it that you've thought out your deal, whether it's going to make me money and be a benefit to me, before I would say, oh, you're my family, I'll just invest with you.
But I'm talking about here, this guy. Like, I'm trying to ask you raising money. You're my family, and this guy is like on the street.
Oh.
So, do you think because I'm dealing with the internal conversation, it's like, oh, but I don't want to ask family's money. I probably have a better interest than this guy. This guy don't have an interest, like in terms of like doesn't have a language to lose your money and lose your money.
I would hope that you would want to make sure that I'm making money with you, right? As a family member or as a friend, right? I don't want to take my friend or family's money and then lose it on them, so I'm more invested in that, right?
By the way, you don't do that forever because our family and friends are limited. But at the beginning, that's where you're starting out. And that's where you're starting out. So, again, this is an idea. The reason why we come to here because we want to expand your network too. Like, a lot of us as strangers, but if you keep coming 5, 6 times, one of the reasons why I keep having this every month is that's a statistics. People don't do anything with anyone if you haven't met that person 6 times. That's why I'm having this consistently. That's why I'm having this meeting that's a bad weather or summers or whatever. Like, if you want to have results, if you want to raise capital, this is a long-term game. My mentor talked about this as a money part. You want the money. And this don't look at it as a bad thing. It's like, oh, this is our plan, this is our plan. You have to have a plan to raise the capital, to be able to do the things that you want to do, in this case, buying multifamilies. Just simple. So, target the money source, and I showed you on the next slides. And then next is figure out what you need to do and say. And I say that if you're going to practice and practice and practice, it's going to get better. It's just simple as that. If you know you're good, if you don't already know that you know how to say it and how to present, that's good. If you know you can get from professional, create a plan, or figure out who has already done it, create a plan. Figure out in here, someone have done it, raise capital. Create an execution plan. And I'm going to show you some of the things. How do you create a credibility? Maybe not as good as Oprah, but at the meantime, there's many things you can do other than having a track record. Because remember, everyone starts somewhere. And execute that plan. So first of all, have the plan, learn about that you need to have a plan. Learn about what is the plan. By the way, plan, when I say the plan, is probably 15, 20 things. Don't look at it as fixed things. Like, things keep moving. So probably you have to do your marketing better, have a marketing plan, and talk about investors, talk about investing in real estate on your leisure time so that people know that you're doing this subconsciously. And then showing people that you are actually doing this investing and talk about this all the time. Because to be honest, if you want to show yourself as real estate investors, or you want to invest in real estate, first of all, you have to tell yourself that you are a real estate investor. If you cannot sell yourself that, that's nothing I can do for you. And then you have to sell it to others. And slowly, you create a mindset that, this is pretty real. It's just like me. At the beginning, I didn't think this is real, like having meetups. But you know what? I keep telling myself that I'm just doing it. At the beginning, it's like weird. Who's this guy like having an accent? It's just Chinese guy trying to teach about multifamilies. I don't care. Same thing for you guys trying to raise capital. So I call it money plan. You're going to have some sort of presentations. You're going to have some sort of pitch. If you work in family office, you probably see this 1,000 times. And you practice and practice. It's a system. It's going to take time. It's not one quick fix. But it's going to take less than your whole life to raise the $500,000. I think. Who's your investors? So, I don't know if I can do this. So, I have some of these links. First of all, private investors. We all here are private investors. I know you're thinking that, you know what, I don't have money, I got laid off, the economy is bad. The truth is, everyone's got money. The truth is, you know, okay, when I say that, some persons talk about here, Calgary market is really bad, right, at the beginning. But when I say that Oprah comes here, everyone says it's going to be raised like 2 million. So is it, are you guys poor or are you guys not? Obviously, everyone has money. It's just a matter of, are you the persons who the other person want to invest with you? Are you that person? Are you doing the things necessary for you to build up the credibility? So I go to Rotary, and I have meetups. So who knows what is Rotary? No one knows what is Rotary? Okay. So Rotary is a charity group. Let's just summarize it. All the people there are rich. So I'm part of it, for obvious reason. And then, is anyone in Chamber? Chamber of Calgary? It's good. Okay, it's good.
Can you say what is the Rotary Club again? My cousin's even a member of it or something, like back when I was kosher, but like I don't even know what. They get together once a month or something and hang out. Like,
Is it like a mastermind? Or?
So this is
yeah.
This is me, right?
Oh yeah. Okay.
So I joined this Rotary group 2 years ago. Basically, Rotary is a group of really well-doing people, and just like Lions Club, and just like a lot of different clubs, and they meet and they talk about how to help people, and there are different projects. Charity is one of the basically the big focus. But one thing they also do, they meet about, my groups meet every Tuesday at the Palazzo in Calgary.
At the what?
Palazzo.
Okay.
Yeah. Family Palazzo. So why I do this? It's the same as why I'm doing this, right? It's the same as why I'm having a book with Brian Tracy. It's the same as why I am putting myself on newspaper. Like people talk about, oh, but it's going to cost money. It's going to cost less for me to save the 2 million. So Rotary Club. So I'm going to go back. Because we talk about investors, some people is like thinking about like you don't only have family and friends. So this is all the things that you can do. Lions Club, chambers, networking, meetup like this. You have about 30 meetups in Calgary, you know. Real estate investing in your family and friends, business associate, co-worker, bankers, mortgage brokers. Even some of us talk about he has money. So what I'm saying is you have so many people, and basically you have to make a list. Like who have a list in the business? Let's just talk about in the business. Who have a list?
A list of what?
A list.
Contact list?
Like CRM?
Yeah, so, okay, by the way, who received my emails? By the way, who received my email? So you're on my list, okay? So that's what I'm talking about. Okay, you're my leads, okay? You come in here. Whether that is a monetary transactions or not, you come to here, I'm closing you. Closing you because you're up here, okay? So that's basically one of the ways to show that.
I just have one point of caution maybe here.
Yes.
I've been involved in an incident where if you make your offering to public, Alberta Securities Commission can get involved. We have to limit to like accredited investors, family and friends, but once you go like normal people out there with the package, that can be tricky because they want to protect people from any sort of scam, fraud, stuff like that.
So what Garuf is talking about is when you were raising capital. By the way, when you're doing single families, you can come across as just a joint venture. You can talk about your partnerships, but you were raising capital. Raising capital is basically at the end is you're trying to make money for the other guy. And usually that guy doesn't have an idea of apartments. So you're raising capital. You're handling the money. You basically, I don't want to jump into that too much, but basically in Canada and US, in US we call it SEC. In Canada, in Canada it's different jurisdiction, right? In BC, they have their own jurisdiction, I forgot what they call it, but in Alberta, we call it ASC, and then Ontario, we call it OSC. It basically is the SEC, okay? It's a security exchange on that jurisdiction or the area. So one thing that Garu's talking about is, and he is right, you have to be really careful what you're talking about. When you're talking about returns, you cannot advertise your deal, right? You cannot advertise your deal if you don't have a relationships. Wonder why I'm having you guys here every month on the second Tuesday? Is it the way that you create relationships? If I just see you the first time and ask you for money, that's no good, right? But if I keep seeing you, and I'm seeing you because you probably want to learn about investing in apartments, and you have this one-on-one later on, and that's how you build relationship. What's SEC or ASC, one thing that they're really looking after is public solicitations, right? Basically it means that coming here first thing is I don't want to know about your name, I don't care about your name, I just show you my deals. You have to be really careful about that, and you're right. By the way, I wrote the exam markets back in 2016. I never do anything about that. But basically, you have to be really careful about asking for money, and that's really true. One thing that you can do, and another thing is asking money for people that you don't know. That's exemption you can do if you're getting money from your family and friends, and that's called private issue exemptions. So I'm not going to go into that, a lot of that, but basically, he's right. You have to, it's going to come back to that. If you don't know, well, first of all, people will get hurt easily by investing in wrong opportunities. But one thing that you can protect them is educating yourself, and educating yourself in terms of how to raise capital. And raising capital is not easy. And that's probably one of the things. You have to do different things, like such as OM, such as PPM in the US, and yeah. Questions? Offering memorandum. Offering memorandum. Yeah. So okay. So what time is it?
It's 2:30.
Okay. Thank you. So raising capital, I'm just going to jump in quickly about raising capital. By the way, I'm not a lawyer, I'm not an accountant. I'm just giving you as a sense of overview of what my understanding is. So don't copy or just don't use my word and say that I tell you. Okay? But this is my understanding because I raised capital in Canada. First of all, if you have a deal, if you try to, there's two ways to raise capital. There's only public or private, right? Public is going to cost about $500,000 to set up all those things, right? And then, and that's your public. And then you have the reporting requirements and all that. And there's a private. What we're talking about here today is private capital. Private capital, you can raise capital through private means, meaning that not on the public market, not on the exchange, in a nutshell. But in order to do that, you have to follow exemptions. And what is exemptions? We know what is exemptions. You know, Brendan, what is exemptions?
Is that market dealer?
Exemptions to raise capital. Give me a
Friends,
feel.
family, business associates primarily.
Mhm.
And then once you go outside of that, you're kind of playing with fire, and there's kind of a gray zone. So there are merchant banks in the city that are operating without an EMD status, but if you're going out to groups that you don't have a close relationship with, then depending on the regulators' mood that day, they can make your life terrible. And again, it goes back to your track record and who you know. If you're been a sophisticated investor in the city for a long time, you can get away with a lot more than somebody who doesn't have a track record, doesn't have friends in high places. So,
Accredited investor is the next one. Is it one of them?
just being like if you're EMD, you can go to an accredited investor. It's typically not more on the operations side. Like modeling, I don't really go and do the fundraising, but my understanding is you have to have a certain net worth, and at that point, it's like the government just says, "Okay, you're rich enough, you should be able to figure this out on your own." But if you're under that threshold, I'm not sure what it is. Probably a couple million. I don't know. It's joint too. It's like $1 million yourself or something, and then it goes up if it's combined. And if you're at that point, then the rules just don't apply to you anymore, and you can pretty much do whatever you want as an investor. And the Securities Commission really won't protect you, but they also won't get in your way.
Thanks, Brandon. So what we talk about here is when you're raising capital, you have exemptions. You have different kind of exemptions in Canada. And one of the exemptions, so exemption is basically the ways that you can actually go on and ask for money, okay? So you have one thing called accredited investor exemptions. I'm just giving you a couple ones. Next one is called private issuer exemptions. There's many of them, it's 5 or 6, private issuer exemptions. And then the third thing is you have business associate exemptions. And that's the list go on and on. And basically is SEC or ASC saying the way that if you don't want to raise funding in public and you want to go private, I'm not going to allow you except you meet my exemption. It basically means that I exempt you I exempt you so that you can do raising capital. So what Brandon's talking about is the accredited investors way. And it's one of the most popular way. I don't want to get into too deep with it because this is not about that. But that's basically you have different ways. If you have family and friends, you basically qualify into this immediately. You have to hire, by the way, you have to hire lawyers to do this kind of thing. It is not done by me. It's kind of go back to getting a team, getting a lawyer, vetting a lawyer to be able to do that kind of thing is very important. And then you have business exemptions, you have accredited investor exemptions. Accredited investor exemption go very quickly. It's basically you personally, you have 1 million net worth, or you join, or you have make 200,000 personally, or you join me and Mandy, the 1 million staying the same, or we make 300,000 for the last 2 years, and remotely, reasonably, accurately, this year we'll be making the same. And then eligible investor is basically lower. But in order to get eligible investors, so basically you have a no net worth, and I don't know the number of that on top of my head, basically lower. What the ASC is telling you that because you don't have that much net worth, you as an issuer, you have more disclosure. Basically means you have to pay more for lawyers. Okay, I know it's a lot of puzzling things, but basically it's 3 ways. So basically the exchange. Again, I'm not a lawyer, I'm not a security lawyer, I'm not an accountant. But if you talk to anyone who's done this, they know what you're talking about. You have to follow this rule, as Guru talking about, you have to write long documents and pay a lot of fees to be able to raise the capital. What's the options? Save a couple millions, or pay $5,000 to the lawyers to read it. I selected the second way. Good? Good. Okay.
I just want to then add to it, I guess, once we can come. So, in my history, I was trying to put together a deal.
Yes.
So, along with family and friends and whatever,
yes.
I connected with my mortgage broker. So, like a mortgage broker, he had access to a lot of people who had funds. So, he then put out a presentation to all his associates or stuff like that, right? And then one of the investors, through the mortgage broker's connections, they forwarded an email to ASC. And then,
sorry, say that again?
So one of the mortgage broker's connection, who the email went out to as a investment, whatever, right, a vehicle. So then ASC contacted us to say, hey guys, you're projecting this much return, what history do you have, stuff like that, right? And then so even if you get into that sort of process, it was pretty easy to get rid of ASC off our backs as well. Because once they realized that we're actually not trying to scam anybody, we're not trying to do anything wrong, they were able to just pull off our case in a matter of a month or so. So it's not like, hell breaks loose when they get involved. It's just like once you demonstrate you're not doing the wrong thing, then it's easy to let them off as well, from my experience.
Yeah, and thank you for, personally, I never want to deal with that. But if you're gonna do this for long term, you're gonna deal with that. They're gonna pet you, right, sooner or later. So do this formally, do it correctly, getting someone to write all this document. By the way, you cannot write an OM yourself. It's like 100 pages. Like you're gonna pay a lawyer $20K to do it, right? It's a disclosure document. When you talk about PPM, private placement memorandum, or OM, or even any kind of issue documents, you need security lawyers to practice in that field. I'm talking about in that field, like, you know, if it's massage business or anything, you need that field. The lawyer need to have experience, raising, putting all the terms. That's a good scene.
Yeah, that's cute, isn't it?
Yes.
Good place for weddings.
So you need someone to write that document for you, and so can I limit it to the last? I have a lot of slides going in. Yes. Sorry. Good. I don't want you guys to be 5. I have the experience before. Almost got kicked out last time. So I talk about marketing. I learned this from my mentors. The word marketing is because, you know, by the way, we are all marketing ourselves. Whether you like it or not, we are all selling ourselves to the outside world. You're selling your kid to be a good kid, and you probably want to be knowing how to sell to your kid. That's some behavior you want to do, some behavior you don't want to do. And that's, you're selling your wife or your husband on, let's go to the vacations on next year or somewhere like that. We're all selling. But the better you equip it with the marketing skills, the selling. For example, if you have a good track record, if you have been treating your husband really well, and the moment that so basically you do your marketing, right? You do your sales job, right? In the years ahead. The moment when you're trying to talk to your husband and trying to get that trip, it's probably easier. I'm not trying to single out Texas here. I'm trying to just give an example. If you have a good relationship with your investors, you've been following with them for last projects, the chance for you to get the money this time is going to be lower. It's going back to the marketing. It's going back to, and marketing is such a vague thing. People always talk about really vague things like what is marketing? And by the way, there's a lot of things you can do. I do a lot of marketing myself. As you already see it, I do social media. I hire someone to do a video for me and go on stages. All those things cost money. But it's, again, I'm going to say that again, it's going to cost less than yourself trying to bring up the $2 million to close a property. Marketing yourself, and you need to ask yourself, what is your marketing? Do you have a marketing plan? Or I just said I want to go out to raise money, right? Do you have a marketing plan? Or is like, I read the 2 marketing books. You know, that's my marketing plan. How do you reach them? How do you communicate with them? And is it professional, the messages? Is it professional that, you know, I'm an investor, and this is what I do, and this is my market? You show them a system. Or is it that I just come about this property? It's probably not that convincing to close that property, right? Or get the money. What is my marketing world outside? I think I show it a little bit. Is a list. And the list goes on and on and on and on and on. I can single out a couple of things, your credibility package. You know, who have a credibility package here? Good. Who has a market research? When you say that this is a good property, do you have a document? Do you have a document that you send them to them? Okay. So it's good. So for example, so when I say that, this is one of my market research. So when I say that you should invest in some place, I have some documentation for people. Who have a business plan? Who have your team built up in your business plan? What's your team include?
Sorry.
Tell me about your team.
Talking about it's very new, but so I have 2 mentors that I'm learning from.
Is it important when you show them the data record? Is it important when you talk to your investors, show them data records from your investors? So let's say you have 2 mentors, right?
Yeah.
Because basically that's how you answer that you don't have a track record. I have a mentors, right? You show, not only that you show that they're track record, but you show that you have commitment. Because if you don't have commitment, you're probably not going to ask for help. Right. Sorry, keep going.
Sorry. So I have my two mentors, and then we have a lawyer who is very experienced in,
And you put that on your package.
It's in my package, yeah. So, and he has done all of our agreements, right, and can modify our agreements, right? So he's done up generic agreements for us, so that every time we go into a deal, we can use that and just modify it for the terms that we agree to with our investors. Then I have my accountant who tells me how I'm supposed to do things correctly.
You have a team, right? It's not like you, let me just research online, right? You know what I'm saying?
No.
Like, it's not like this, right?
And we've looked at a lot of different people before we chose the people we were using.
If I answer,
Recommendations.
if I'm your investors, if I answer, well, how do you deal with the tax strategies? So basically, how do you pay tax in US? Like obviously I'm answering the questions here, but if you do that for investors, you can, basically that's how you do it, right?
If I don't know the answer, then I can refer them to my team, right, to my accountant.
It's much better, right? Because
Accounting is not my strong suit, right, so.
You have your team.
My general
Yeah.
answer is I can go to my accountant and get that answer for you, right, or I can go to my lawyer and get that answer for you, right?
see, that is the reason why you have to do, hopefully, some of this. Like, you know, how do you know? Because they can answer about the numbers, right? It's good that it's okay. For example, they're gonna say that, oh, it's okay that you don't have a chart, but can you show me the numbers? Or let me get back to you. That's not too convincing, right? Like, if you get back to you on just a spreadsheet, it's not too convincing, but you have to have a system. So what I'm saying is, all these things, it's you, and what you talked about last time, oh, there's a lot of things we really do. But the thing is, one big part of doing or presenting yourself as accredited investors, not in this term, but as a successful investor, is how to present yourself in the light of investor that you have done it many times. This is my team, and you have a system to deal with that. This is not the first time you're doing it. Even if it's the first time he's doing it, I have my team, they are not the first time he's doing it. So, talk about market research, I'll give you an example of that. Business plan, deck, so, can you guys promise me one thing? So don't judge by the quality of these things. I'm going to show you my deck. But you have to have a deck and showing that what you done, right? What is your team? How much net worth you have? And talk about the financials here. Probably financials is this, the personal financial statements. So in marketing terms, this is what we call stacking. When you stack, so, okay, how many years of Oprah has been doing her show? How many years? 30 years? Oprah. How many years Oprah has been doing her show on TV? 30? And there's a way to stack it, right? How many years I've been doing this meetup? 3 years, it's not much. But one thing is, you stack all those together, you have built confidence, that people give confidence and have more confidence that they want to do things with you. So
I have just a question. For this, do you present this?
no, this is
to
really
the
bad one.
investor?
Yeah. No.
No.
I'm just showing you have to have something. You have to have something. You don't say that, let me send you an email, right? You know what I'm saying? Let me send you an email. This is all I own. You have to show that this is not your first time. You have to have to prepare that you have done this many times. If you don't, you put your mentor's resume into that, right? What they have closed. And what if because it's not the best, you never close it yourself, but you have to start somewhere. You're either gonna put your team resume there, along with the mentor's resumes, your property manager resume, your lawyer's resume, your accountant resume. That sounds much more confident than I'm doing it by myself. Or let me get back to you, I haven't had a contact yet. That's what I'm saying. It's called stacking. And by the way, it's called stacking. It's how many times you see that thing. The reason why you keep drinking, I'm a big lover of Coca-Cola. The reason I keep drinking Coke, by the way, is because I've seen that ads multiple times. Many times. And it's like becomes subconsciously, I want that. Good. So, this is my example of, I was doing my elevator pitch. So this is my elevator pitch. I've been a coach, teaching investors how to invest in apartment buildings since 2015. I've written 3 books, 1 best-selling author with the Van Tracy, appearing on national magazine, local newspapers such as Calgary, invest in Hong Kong, which is the most expensive city in the world, invest in China, and invest in Canada, and also in the US. I met a student who know how to invest in emerging market in the US step-by-step process. The one that you are in right now, Meetup you're in right now, is one of them, as a way for me to give back to the community. 30 own 100 units in apartments in the US, along with my investors who benefit from my account in Canada and giving them really, really good cash flow every quarter. I host meetups, as I told you, 30 to 50 investors coming to my meetup group every month. And current projects, I'm closing a real estate deal of $20 million US, $20 million US, and purchasing 400 units of apartments in the Midwest, which is a market that I truly believe in. My company, Hate to Break, actively investing in real estate since 2014. We buy commercial real estate in emerging markets in the US. We have very good cash flow properties with a very strong back-end opportunity when we sell. We are currently looking for partners. And I'm willing to give up equity positions if you would like more details on how to invest in markets such as this to create a very strong cash flow and very strong equity deal at the end. We'll be willing to have to talk to you. So here it is, my credibility pitch, elevator pitch. You don't have to say everything, but it's basically a way for you to share what you do, what kind of person you're in. Are you expert? Are you someone that who might be people would like to work with you? So this is something that I do, and you should create something like that for yourself. So one thing that I didn't say is, what is the result? What is the return you can get? And it tends to be really touchy because, for example, let's say a lot of people haven't seen it here. If I'm selling you on this, and that's just wrong. This is the apartments you can invest, and you can get X percentage. Even like talk about that. That's wrong, right? Because I'm soliciting particular investment, and there's ways that you can do that. For example, you can tell them the market that I invest has an average of so and so, even though that doesn't represent the investment that you're going to potentially investing in. But that as an example, you can do that. But you don't want to say that invest in this more property, invest in this property because you can get X percent. Public solicitations, first time solicitation, you don't want to do that.
Could you say that in this presentation?
No. If I first time know you, no.
Right.
But if I have a relationship with you, right, that's different.
Oh, this presentation be available to first time people?
You shouldn't, yeah, you shouldn't. If you're trying to close that property, you shouldn't. And you know what, as Brendan talked about, it's really great. This is raising my capital is really great. And the SEC, ASC is constantly changing all the time. And you should have, no matter, if you really raise in the game of raising capital, actively raising capital, you should have your lawyers review all the things.
When do you tell how much, what are you going to charge, or what's your cost of management?
Mm-hmm. That's fine. That's way to build credibility. Like you mean to tell them how much you make?
Yeah.
You should
not how much you make. Let's say I charge 5% management fees, stuff like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like at what point do you bring forth that information? Later on in the game?
Definitely not first. First time on a meeting, like for example, if I'm meeting Scott or meeting you first time, the best way that you can do is close it. Like in sales and marketing, we call it close it. You close it in the meeting. Basically have an opportunity to close it. But the chances you're not going to get an investment on the next time too, right? You would say the best way to say that is a lot of things that, and it's more specific, pertaining to the market, pertaining to the investments that we're talking about potentially. I think we should have another meeting. Because what the SEC want to see is they want the progression of our relationships. They want to see you as not trying to raise capital with our relationships.
Yeah.
So the more and more more and more you meet, and hopefully document it because you request an email and things like that, the more that you can cover your ass, right? And there's no gray, like there's no black and white that many times that you can do or you cannot do it. But the first time you don't want to is like, can you invest with me? Like I have this deal is $2 million. That's no. Like, and you see it all the time in REIA, local real estate associations, and you don't want to do that. And you shouldn't. Because your primary goal is to create credibility, create yourself as established persons to be able someone to invest with you.
Yeah.
It's a slow game. It is a slow game, but it's going to quicker than saving your money. I've seen it many times.
That's why you want to do it right? Just, be familiar with the regulations, what you're required to do, and make sure that, like definitely not the first time, because you don't know that person, right? Take the time to understand and know individuals and see what they need, right? And, can build great friendships along the way too sometimes.
Yeah, like definitely want to engage someone on the, if you being, the truth is, there's so many private placement, private investment everywhere. So the first couple of times when you're trying to do something like this, you're not going to raise a lot of attentions, right? If you're raising 20 million, 10 million, yes, you probably will. But you're raising $500,000 here and there, probably you're fine. But the one thing is, you need to have a team. You need to build a team that the lawyer that drafting your documentation, whether it's subsequent agreement, whether it's OM, whether that is your KYC form, all those things, you have to have someone to be able to draft those documentations for you. And you have to build your team. And no matter what city, in Calgary, we have lawyers who done that. I have my team in Calgary. I have my team in the US. It's about building up the connections, building up the people who know that they can help you. And probably not the first one that you met with, right? You probably meet to 5 or 6 different lawyers because they want the business, right? You're gonna read out how many OM they write, how many real estate investment they have been doing on all this kind of exemption. Yeah.
It would be like concern that if you screw them and hurt them, the SEC will go after you. But if they're high net worth individual, they won't care.
No, that's not that. Okay.
They won't, if you reach a certain net worth, for one, I don't know what it is. It's probably a quick look, but the family's lawyer take care of that. But for one, you're probably going to be sophisticated enough that you're going to vet it yourself, and you're willing to take that risk. And the other parties are going to send you a bunch of forms like KYC, a bunch of stuff you have to fill out. So essentially removes the party pitching the investment from liability. Like if it goes to zero, that's on you. And also too, that once you reach that threshold, there's also a different set of rules that apply to you. I would say, like, broadly speaking, there's lawyers that take care of this stuff, and if you're to pitch a deal, and I'm not speaking for real estate, but I'm just speaking other investments that are probably like as large as some of these multifamily. Like, if you're going out to these parties and you don't have a lawyer involved, those are like red flags.
This is pretty shady.
Yeah, they'd be like,
you're going to raise $500,000 and you don't have lawyers.
And they might actually ask for that documentation. So, like, just budget that into your working capital when you're doing a deal. Like, hey, you're gonna need a lawyer, so talk to one, figure out what it's gonna cost, and that's part of the deal. And so if your property's worth $1 million, we'll tack on the lawyer fees on top of that, and that's what you're looking to raise, because and on top of that too, like the SEC and the ASC, like, I hope nobody here's a lawyer, but typically the lawyers that work for those organizations aren't your top tier, because the top tier lawyers are working in the private sector. So if you hire a good lawyer, most often than not, they can go head to head with an ASC or a SEC lawyer, and they're probably going to take them to the woodshed.
So get someone on your team, and that one's probably a good lawyer in the field and have experience doing this. Okay. So I'm skipping a couple pages. So some of the questions your investor is probably gonna ask is really standard. When I say that, preparing yourself to answer raising capital, it's probably gonna answer for this. So how am I gonna get my money back? That's the first thing. What is the investor gonna worry about? The first thing, how am I gonna get my money back? How am I gonna get my money back? How am I gonna get my money back? This is all they care about, and then they care about the return, right? That's two things. What is the risk? You probably be ready to answer about to be providing answer for that. Well, there's a lot of things. Currency is one of them, currency risk. And then things like, there's a fire, like how do you protect it? So a lot of things is not that basically a lot of things is you need to know how to say, what to say to the investor, because the investor is just going to keep asking those 20 questions all the time. All the time. First investors, they say, I'm going to, why don't you have a little bit of track record, and then come back. Next time, when you have investors telling you that, you should have your next line coming up. Oh, by the way, I have this track record, I have this with my people that have been doing this. You want to review that? And take care of that objections, right? And tax, like how do I, what if I need my money back? So all those things, you have to figure it out, right? Because the reason this is because it's really kind of come back to tie into this. This is not only investment, this is a securities. So security is basically, that's like the one that we talk about, private and public, those are securities. The reason why you can raise capital in the private and not have to bear so much cost and the things that you have to do on the public market is you need to do those exemptions. Otherwise, you need to go to public. Basically, that's what it is. That's what is exempt about. Otherwise, you have to do the public, which is, I never do a public exemption. Public market, I don't know how much is it, but I know it's going to be 200,000 and up, right? So you need to know how to answer those questions. Who's your team? So those hopefully will be on your team. We talked about it on the Meetup number 3 earlier this year. Attorney, probably cross-border, and when I say attorney, there's actually 2 types of attorneys at least: tax attorney, real estate attorney, and security attorney. So 3 types. So security attorney basically only dealing with documentations, securities, because that's, you know, when they draft up all the documentations, that's not real estate pertaining. They draft up so that it's security pertaining. So basically, to draft up all those things so that you can raise money. Those first type. And then the real estate lawyers is the one who dealing with your due diligence, how to look at your physical, looking at physical and how to close it on locally on that level. And the cross-border attorney work with your accountants to basically come up with the best structure, along with a security attorney, to create that structure for Canadian investors. Property inspector, appraiser, those pretty easy to understand. Mentors, someone have one here. Accountants, cross-border again. Partners. Partners is a really key thing. If you're doing this, you probably want to have partners, right, Robin? You probably want to have partners. This is a lot of things. You need to find someone that you, and partners is I'm going to laugh on this, it's really hard to find a good one. It is, personally, I know that it is. But you know what? You still need partners. Like, you know, no partners are perfect too, by the way. You know, but the more that one good way to match partners is trying to, for example, if I'm not really good at underwriting, I probably should find someone who's good at underwriting. Right? If I'm good at negotiations, I don't need another partner who's good on negotiations. I try not to. Like on top of, I'm talking about skill set matching here. Insurance agents, property management company, so those good. Selling yourself, track record. Okay, so this is actually, you know, the reason why all those people have all this video, Facebook and whatever, printing, documentations and whatnot, is because they want to lower the barrier, the trust that you're trying to build. The more you convince them, so let me create this. This is an example. My name is Howard Lau. I'm the founder of Meetup Real Estate. I've come from Hong Kong actually when I was 19 years old. Come from a family that, from a kind of like a lower class family. So what I'm trying to do is building up a story. I remember one time when I was 1 year old, my family had to take me to the emergency room. When we come back, we actually don't have money for the taxi, so we actually end up walking halfway. And my mother and my father have to count the pennies and dime to kind of make up a shortfall to take the taxi back home. I believe you can create with some values if you are really passionate about what you do, and which is why I want to tell you about my passion in real estate. What I'm showing you here, this is a 48-unit apartment that we just purchased, and it's really exciting opportunities because when you look at Ohio, it has a lot of background where Wright brothers create the first aviation dreams, and here you
$20,000 per unit here for this 48 units apartment building. What we're trying to do is trying to find a value add, a component for the investor who wanted to partner with us. You put in a big shares of the investors, and by doing that, everyone got a good shares of the properties. I want to introduce a potential for investor to invest in something like this. What inspires me is growth. I believe people can change and people can grow. A lot of times, real estate is really the only game. Where you're coming from doesn't mean that where you're going to be in the future. And I believe in a lot of people that want to bring along with me, whether it's investors, whether it's partners, with collaborations, we can all achieve big things. I really like that myself.
So no matter what kind of communication you do it to your investors, the one goal that you're trying to do is lower the barrier of the trust. Because when you're meeting someone, you really don't know that person's. But when you see it all the times on social media, on different ways and different things.
If you manage a team, you have to try money.com.
Thank you. So that's what you're trying to do. You build yourself as a video, and you don't have to do it that way. You can have documentation. There's so many different ways you can do it nowadays, right? And it's no different from Sam, you own your brokerage, and your brokerage trying to do video to advertise your business, right? In this case, you are raising capital yourself. It's just one of the ways. Success stories, what's your track record, what's your team, property managers, resumes. So market research, the one that I give it to you, business plan, a lot of things, we talk about it. And the thing is investor form. Many can give them investor forms. So this is one of the things that you want to close them. Remember, you don't want to close them saying that can you invest with me? But you can close them on getting them as a contact. From the security exchange perspective is the moment you have a relationship, that's where the moments that you can start slowly building up the relationships. But you didn't document it, right? You didn't document it. You have a system to do it, right? Mm. So the one that, the presentation deck, everyone have that? I actually come across this online yesterday. I really like it. What's the story? I tell you on my video, that's my story. And you should have your story. Because why you want to, like that's two ways to sell anything, right? One is like, why don't you just invest with me? Another way is tell your story. Story usually is click, it's usually link. Because it is from an experience, from a story. No one's wanted to hear about that. Can you invest with things? No one's want to do that. But everyone's want to hear about a story. So what you need to think about your story. When you say you want to invest with other people, what is the story? You need to create a story. When you tell your investor, maybe for example, Tanya, just use it as an example. Maybe it's something like, you know what? I've been doing this for many. I've been looking at the market for a long time. I look at a lot of deals along with my inner group. And you know what? This is why I believe that in US is a good opportunity to invest based on all these things. You need to create your own story, and it doesn't create just like out of the blue, by the way, right? You have to work with many times. Whether you're going to be talked about as an elevator pitch, just like an elevator pitch, or like a video, it doesn't matter. You have to think about what is a good story to link. Maybe people that similar background to you, right? That you want to be, because if you have a similar background to you in US, now you can move to Canada, maybe you connect to them better. So you need to think about what's your story. The reason I'm showing you that video, first is marketing. Second is, this is how you do a story, right? Think about those. Number two, and I link this, the reason I like those information is because it actually confirmed that you need to have a system. And that's why when I say a system, it's what's the steps. I can tell people, this is the steps to buy your multifamily. It's really easy for people to understand. Number two, showing that you have to have a market. Because people is going to say, I don't understand US. But if you have a market research, that's how you're showing that. well, whether they can convince or not, that's your responsibility to do that. But at least you show them this is how you have done it, based on that. So we talk about that. Who is on the #1 meetup emerging market? Who was here last year? Right. So yeah. So we talk about how do you find the market, and one thing is you need to convince yourself. Another thing is you need to convince investors. Investor doesn't go through like five weeks ago that you have done all the market research. If you don't have documentation, if you don't show them this is why, this is by the way, this is all about selling. Okay. Like that's even if you unleash a market that's have like the tab 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 that you should buy it. That's probably another 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 that you shouldn't do it. So building up your market research is about selling your market. You know what I'm saying? Like as bad as Calgary right now, that's probably another top 10 reason that you should be investing in Calgary. You're selling. Did you with me? You're selling your market, that's what I'm saying. And we talk about it, and I talk about on my mentorship program. So, number 3, how do you make money? Who were in my meetup on due diligence underwriting? So you have to show them that you do your math, right? So pay attention. Each one of these steps is kind of important. Because when investors saying that, where's your track record? Okay, just hold, just wait for me, okay? So I've done my market research, and I've done your due diligence. Based on this, I know sometimes it's performing one-off, but based on this is how you can make. And you always want to show them you make money. You don't want to show them that you're not making money. Because again, the thinking is like, if you're not making money, how are you going to make money? How are you going to make money, right? So, and then you want to show them you have attractions. If you don't have attractions, what you do? You're either going to be partnered with someone who have attractions, or you're going to be basically, who have created a property package before? Property package is basically is a package. Talk about the investment. Talk about, I don't have it here today, apologies. So talk about what is market, what is the vintage, how many units, what is the value here, why I'm buying it here. Talk about numbers, talk about other risks. So basically it's a summary on why you should be investing in that. You should have that like 10, 15 pages created for each one of the investment that you present to your investors. So now investors again come back and you don't have track record, but you tell them, this is why I'm doing this, a great story. This is why you should be investing in the market. And this is why, because I'm making money and you're making money, and based on this spreadsheets. And yeah, I don't have track record. I'm showing you this is how I do my due diligence based on this property package. Keep going. I'm stacking. Have a plan. So when I say have a plan, it means that marketing, sales, and operation plan. Who have a way to get your investor into your business systematically? A list is an example. You need to have a continuously flow. For example, when you say that the investor is saying that they don't want to invest in you, now are you having line up on the investor on the list that they can talk to? But that's a system. That's a marketing sales plan. Generating massive deal flow. So if that deal is bad, do you just look at the property again, or you have another 5 or like 10 property you can look at? Do you have a deal flow? Like in the real estate term, you do have a deal flow, but you just don't do those kind of activity, meaning that raising capital or doing marketing or finding investment, or finding opportunity or finding investors when you are just have free time. You have to have a system. You have a system continuously doing it. This is a system to doing this. Just make sure that people keep coming. This is the system to doing it continuously. People keep doing. And you should also do the same when you engage in investors, right? Because you probably should have a way to engage in. If that guy's saying no to you, you probably have a way to come back to follow up with that. And need to be system. Hopefully that's not just another phone, in alarms and things like that. You need to be a system. So, and that's pretty deep, a lot of information there.
That's about 315.
Okay, thank you, Mandy. And then building a team, are you the right person? They're gonna know. So they're gonna ask. So are you doing this solo or you have a team? And we talked about it earlier. So the reason I'm doing this is, okay, next, know your numbers. Again, do your due diligence. Based on that, do you know your numbers? What are you basing on? Are you based on the rent, based on existing income statements and whatnot? Number 8, know your competitions. By the way, this is not just real estate. This is actually from pitching investor, pitching people with money. But I just find that it's actually really matching in terms of what we have been doing on this. Whether we call it different name or not, this is just how you do it. Like whether you are pitching a marijuana plant or business, or you're pitching a real estate, you have to somehow, you may not be able to hit all the things, but you somehow have to kind of answer many of those points along the way. And that's one good way is, I don't have a track record, let me come back to you later on. Good? My marketing. So when I say you have to do some of this, and I do this too. I do this on, when you're trying to communicate with investors, probably don't use a Gmail, okay? That's really simple, right? You probably should have your abc.coms and probably have your own website. You probably should doing this on social media. You probably have some media pointed to your website. Your track record, so I sent to you already. Your financial network, your business plan, building your team, resume, network. So who think that's a lot? It's a lot. That's why you have to do it with people, not do it yourself, and they will build over years, right? Who has done 5 of those yourself?
5 on that list?
Yeah. What are the 5? What are the 5? Yeah.
On the website, I have an email.
Yeah, good.
Your social media thing.
Yeah, that's good.
Financial statement.
Yeah.
And my resume.
Yeah, it's good. But it's like, it takes time to build, right? Take time to build, right? But does it feel like that you have one down, it's like, yeah, and then move on to the next?
Oh, God, no. You're constantly developing.
But it's going to be easier to raise than 2 million yourself, right? Yeah. So those takes money, by the way. Everything takes money. That's 2 ways. As I go back to the earlier, that's 2 options. One is save the money that you want to buy the millions and millions of properties, or spend some money on this. It's not going to be free. By the way, why is it not free? Because you're not going to know how to do all this yourself. If you're trying to learn how to do all this yourself, it's probably going to cost you that much money to buy the buildings. So the key thing is, so if you need to write these documentations, there's 2 ways. You're either going to become a lawyer and spend 10 years to become proficient in the security arena to do it yourself, or you pay someone $20K to do it. You pick. So I say that, stay to the end of this, because many can you distribute the middle ones? Yeah. So I have a boot camp coming up on October 12th to 13th. It's 2 days, and I don't know where it's going to locate it. It's 2 days, 8 hours. So I say that is the first 5 seats is going to be free. So I think a cost that is $1,000. So the next 5 seats is going to be $500, and then the rest is the thousands. So if you think that you need some help in doing this, just register. So and then if the first 5 seats is to the Mandy. So if you're there to Mandy and you pay the $500 now, and that it will be credited on the day off. So that's it. I think that's the first time I end up on time. So now is networking time.
You want to open the door just to get some.
Sorry, question, sorry.
I had one question. So you talked about the investor side, like you did not talk about the loan side. So what's the general position of the U.S. bank to loan the money to Canadian investors?
Depending on the track record. Depending on the track record.
Track record in the U.S. or in Canada?
Yeah.
In Canada included?
U.S.
Oh, then 0,
And
right?
and then depending on your team, right? Depending on your team, right? For example, like if I'm new, I'm trying to buy property in the U.S. going to be pretty hard, right? It's going to be pretty hard. And then the next thing is, are you partnering with someone? Are you partnering with someone who has the experience, have the track record? Now the question is, some people is, but I'm going to give away some of the pie. You pay. You're gonna be establish yourself, like just clean started, or you partner with someone that's easier. The fact is, this is a partnership game. When you buy that building, 200 units, the whole thing, you're gonna need a team to do this, right? So, but the way to do the loan side is basically you contact someone with a mortgage brokers on the mortgage broker side, on the US side, mortgage brokers, and then get them to look at your properties, and then get the loan for you.
So is this possible, even though you have?
Of course, I'm Canadian. I do in US.
Yeah, okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot. Yeah. Take care, man. Yeah. Guys, you can network.
It's good. So the deal is different stages of purchasing things. So we're in the April 30th. Just going over the numbers over and over. We wrote the dimensions across, did a breakdown. That's our budget overall, right? And then in terms of new lighting, and we're trying to see how much we're saving.
Is it a flip? How many months? 2 months.
2 months max.
What do you do with Brenda?
What we're doing?
Do you with Brenda?
Ours is a very good weapon, but one of that's what we go with first. Even if we break even, it's just get to learn facts. Personally, how I am. Even when like you said, riding a bike, first time you're involved, you keep going back. That's how when you're engineering, the same thing. You just do it. You have to keep doing it until you become more bigger and learn as much as you can. Long term, maybe look in terms of like purchasing house and say for 700. If I can get a guy from do it for 100, and we can make 100. We didn't want to work. He did the 100K. We gave him business like we make things like that. But the initial part is learn to see what it costs or what, and then how to compare it to the guy who comes in next time. Say, this A and B costs so much. Why are you charging so much? Things like that.